Hello, my name's Graham Hughes, and I'm going to be your tutor for this webinar today. I'm going to show you a demonstration of some of the key features of MAXQDA in a little while, and I'll allow you to ask questions of me via the chat facility is possibly the best way of asking them. Either chat or questions. I'll monitor both of those as I go along, and I'll attempt to answer your questions with the help of further demonstrations. If a question is particularly unhelpful, I may ignore it for a while until I reach a point where it'll make a bit more sense. I've got you all on listen only, and that's deliberate, so we don't disturb other people with the noise, background noise of your office and so on. So please just watch and listen. Hopefully you can all hear me and not each other. A quick item about me: I'm based in England. I've worked with MAXQDA for about 14 years now, with all kinds of software for over 30 years. Now, this program was first created in 1989, and it has grown and developed over time, and they've just launched yet another new version, MAXQDA 24, which I'll be using today. It started off as a text analysis program, but as I'll show you, it can handle many more kinds of data: images, audio, video, wide variety of text formats. I think this program is really good for helping researchers bring different types of data together to see how they can provide insights into a central topic. But I also have to say that I love this program because it's intuitive and easy to use. Now, that doesn't mean that it's simplistic. It is extremely powerful. What it does mean is you don't need to use much of your own brain power thinking about how to drive the program, and that leaves most of it for thinking about your research questions. Now, I'll be working today with the Windows version of MAXQDA 2024. As always with MAXQDA, there's strong continuity from previous versions. So if you've only got access to 2022 version, don't worry. Much of what I show you, almost everything that I'll show you, will be very similar. The screens look a little bit different, but they're essentially very much the same. Also, this program runs on Apple Mac computers as well as Windows, and it looks pretty much identical on both. So if you're a Mac user, do stay with us. Hopefully this webinar will be just as useful for you as I hope it'll be for the Windows users. Okay, a few latecomers have joined us, but let's get going. So I'm going to very briefly talk about the benefits of QDA software, then discuss the MAXQDA interface and go into a project setup. And all along, I'll be thinking about how to analyze data, and I'll finish up with the licensing options part of the agenda. So what is qualitative data analysis? MAXQDA, Max Qualitative Data Analysis. Well, on the left, we've got a brief summary of qualitative data: texts, transcripts, documents, survey data, tables, audio, video, websites, field notes, all sorts of things make up qualitative data. Anything that isn't purely statistics, essentially, is qualitative. And the analysis can be done in many, many different ways. We've just got some examples: content analysis, focus group analysis, mixed methods, and so on. MAXQDA can handle all of these kinds of data and many different kinds of method. It doesn't have a button that says, do me focus group analysis. You have to work out how to use the variety of tools in ways that are consistent with your chosen methodology. But the main benefits of using software like this are the ability to organize your data, first of all, the flexibility, all the different types. And even within that, we might include transcription, which has been enhanced in the latest version. I'll briefly talk about that. You then analyze your data in a variety of ways, and these are just some of the kind of analysis tools: categorizing, summarizing, searching, and discovering relationships, and so on. And then ultimately, your aim is to present your results by exporting your data visualizations, putting them into your ultimate report so they look really impressive. Your research should be much more transparent if it's done through good software like this. If you do it on Excel and with highlighter pens and so on, very difficult for somebody else to reliably reproduce the research that you have done from the data that you have. So your data can better be used in secondary analysis. So without MAXQDA, you're tearing your hair out with a load of post-it notes on the screen. With MAXQDA, everything comes in order. A little bit of marketing flim-flam there. Right. The MAXQDA interface is made up of 4 panels, and I'm going to show you this live in just a moment, but this screen is quite helpful because it just has the identifying markers. In the top left, we have the document system, which is where you bring your data in and organize it. Bottom left, we have your code system, your codes. These are the themes and ideas that you're working with from within the data. Top right, we have the document browser, which is where we can read the text documents and look at the videos and photographs and things. And the bottom right, we have retrieved segments, retrieval, where we pull back selected data segments that match some combination of document categories and codes that we're interested in. And within this, just to highlight, on the left-hand side of the document browser, we have coding stripes, little symbols for memos and things. The retrieved segments is interactive, and we can see code frequencies over here. But I think I'm going to minimize at that point and come into the live program. So this is the startup screen I'm now showing you when you first open the program. And up on the left, you have space for a username. If you're working in a team, it's good if each member of the team has a unique name, because then you can identify who has done what. So you put your name in on your own computer and it remembers it ever after. So I'm Graham, so that's already there. Underneath that, we've got 3 big buttons. One day, a few times, you start a brand new project this way. Most times, you'll come in and open an existing project, either by clicking this button and navigating through your system to find a project file. Most often, you find a project that the last one you were working on is the one you want to continue working on, and that'll be top of the list down below. And I'm going to be using one of the example projects, the example that's in English. It's called the Work-Life Balance project, and that's the data that I'm going to be using in just a moment. And over on the right, these panels change a bit sometimes with updates and so on, but you've got links to things like videos and so on. You will get sent a link for this webinar as a video that you can look at again, so don't worry too much about writing notes right now, and all sorts of other things. But let's get on and open up an existing one, the work-life balance that I've got ready here. And now it's opened it up, and there we are. We now have a live project on screen. So this is the very similar to the screen that I just showed you a screenshot of a moment ago. We've got a menu bar across the top in the dark part of the screen. This is a feature that they've changed with this version 24, which makes it much easier to distinguish what's your data from what are the menus and program bits. I quite like this. It defaults to the home menu when you first open an existing project. There are other defaults that come into play at other stages. But if you click on any one of the buttons across the top, you will get a different menu in ways that we're obviously well used to. I'll stick with the home. And then here are the 4 panels. We can move the dividers quite easily to make them wider or narrower, and the horizontal dividers, there we go. I can make the retrieve segments bigger or smaller, and so on. These will make a little bit more sense when you get into it. Each of these windows has a little toolbar. These have been greatly reduced in this latest version. They were getting a little bit crowded in earlier ones, so we haven't got so many buttons here, but behind some of these buttons, if I hover over that plus, there are 3 possible sub options of importing. And if I hover over this one, there are different activation possibilities there in the documents. I'll talk about that more later on. The codes, similarly, if I select a code, click in some way, we get more buttons appear here and so on, which I will explain shortly. The document browser, you can scroll up and down your data or use your mouse wheel and so on. You've got a panel over on the right here, a margin which can be opened and closed with a button on the toolbar here to display memos and comments and things. So these are your own writings on the data that you put in as you're going along. And on this side, we have the colorful brackets indicating where the codes have been attached to the data, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. My retrieve segments panel is currently empty. It's got a little toolbar and so on, and when we're ready to pull out segments, we choose to activate some documents with a click. I've just activated the 5 documents that are in the Hamburg group here on this project, and if I activate, say, the code for friends and family by clicking on there, in the retrieve segments, I now get some data. Let's move this up a little bit so I can see a bit more. I've got 16 coded segments from 5 documents, all in one document group. That is the Hamburg group. So I start with the ANA interview, which is the first one up here in the document system. So it's going to follow the order of the documents there as it displays data down here. And all of the data that is displayed down here is coded already to friends and family. This is an example where quite a lot of work has already been done so that you can see how a project should look as you get into it. So I'm just scrolling down. I've now got to an interview with Kazumi. Well, that's only the second interview. Let's move a bit further. Now we're down with Tatiana and so on. And we can see how Tatiana has talked about friends and family, and she starts off talking about her son and has little time for family or friends. Having a job and a son is obviously filling up Tatiana's time. But I'm getting a little bit beyond my brief. I'm supposed to be showing you how to use the program, not actually analyzing the data itself that's in this example. So the retrieve segments, you can minimize with a little button here and take it away if you're not actually looking to retrieve stuff. That highlights bugging me a little bit. The retrieve segments has jumped down to the status bar at the bottom. And it shows me down here, I've got 16 segments currently in the retrieve segments that are not being displayed. If I just click down here, it brings the window back. So I can open and close that as much as I like. Not quite sure why that keeps on coming up with that highlight. I can reset these activations because I don't actually want those at the moment. And now I've got nothing in the no segments in the retrieve segments. This bottom bar is called the status bar, and it has some useful little functions. But down here, there's a useful one for giving you access to help, but I will point out to you in a moment where context-sensitive help is available throughout. There's a little button here where you can send feedback to the MAXQDA team. That's very important. This program is really useful and easy to use because lots of other people in the past have sent feedback comments. I just found this a bit difficult, or wouldn't it be nice if there was a button to do something such, and so on. And MAXQDA compile all those comments, and the more that they agree with some of them, the more likely it is that that'll get incorporated into the next version, and so on. And what's this last one? I can't remember. Oh, preferences. Ah, yes. Set up preferences. Preferences are what MAXQDA calls the settings within the program. Let's just have a quick look at the preferences. So that gives me up a pop-up screen for this MAXQDA 24, and we've got 6 different screens that we can do within it. If I just go to the user interface, I like to point out a little bit about language here. Now, this is an international program, and it is being used by people all around the world. What you need to just get your head around is the fact that the interface language is the language of the menus, the language being used by the program itself. I'm an Englishman, I'm afraid. Therefore, almost by definition, I only speak one language, English. Isn't that dreadful? I'm very impressed. Many of you are obviously not English from all I've got is your email addresses, but I can see from the extensions from many different places on those, and you're probably not listening to me in your native language, your mother tongue. Wonderful. I'm sorry if I talk too quickly, but I've got a lot of things I want to get through. But you can set your program language to be any one of the languages that I'm displaying on the screen at the moment. It's a scroll. So we've obviously got German and English, but we've got Spanish and French, other and Italian, European languages. We've also got Japanese and Chinese, and Brazilian, Russian and Turkish. So quite a lot of choice of languages for the interface. I'm obviously going to stay with English. The language of your data is quite independent of the interface language. If your brain can cope with menus in Japanese and data in Arabic, MAXQDA will be quite fine. It'll be perfectly happy to do that. That just blows my brain completely into a million pieces. But some of you are probably quite capable of doing that. Well done. All power to your elbow, as we say in English. So the spell check language is much more limited. This is just checking the spellings of the language in your data, but it does distinguish between American and English spelling because sometimes our cousins over the other side of the Atlantic like to spell things a little bit differently from those of us over here on this side. So I've just had a question. Let's have a look. I'd like to know what the numbers of text refer to. I know it refers to cues and answers, but is it useful to divide the answer to more than one segment with multiple numbers? Okay, I will just, because they have popped up, I don't think I need to say anything else about the interface. You can explore around those settings, but hopefully I've made my point about language. I think it's possibly that, oh, I can't see. Oh, I see. You called yourself Memo A. That's why I can't see who you are. There are paragraph numbers are displayed here on this particular display of this, and it's just simply numbering the paragraphs right through, which is just done when the data is imported. I'll do an import in a moment and show you that again. And it's not serving any particular analysis function. You can divide when you come to coding. You can code large or small parts. That is a whole segment. But here is part of a paragraph being coded to the Home Office code. Here is another part of a paragraph being coded. So it's up to you how you choose how big a segment it is that you use. And those segments are not numbered. They're attached to codes and they fall within documents, and that is enough to define them. That numbers don't come into it. The numbers that you can see over here are simple counts. How many coded segments are attached to each of these codes? Domestic work here has a 7. There are currently in this project just 7 segments that have been coded with the code domestic work. Up here, if we look at the ANA document, it has a 41 beside it. That is counting how many coded segments across all codes are attached to ANA, and the answer is 41. I've actually got the Riley document open at the moment. That's got 42 coded segments. So there are 42 different brackets in this margin down here. When I go into my next stage of my example, these things will make a little bit more sense. I think possibly I've reached the point where I want to actually start a brand new project and show you how you go through with that. So I'm going to go on my home ribbon. I'm going to go to the new project, and I'm going to start a completely new project. I'm going to put it on my desktop, and please take note of this. MAXQDA constantly reads and writes your project file. It doesn't work so well if you put your project file, your live project file that you're doing your analysis in, onto a shared drive, it doesn't work at all well if it's up in the cloud. But if it's a drive that's synchronized to constantly back up, as Microsoft Office 365 does for me, then that slows MAXQDA down. I have not linked my desktop to Microsoft Office 365, so I'm going to put this project file into my desktop, and I'm going to call it new project, and today's date 2023/11/20. That's the date in a digital format that will sort correctly. Click save. And it has now opened that new project. There it is, new project with today's date as part of the name. I've now got an empty screen. I could bring my retrieve segments back just to show that it's still there. And there's no data in this project at all. So I need to bring some in. And that's what I want to demonstrate, how easy it is to do that kind of thing. Little thing, very small thing, but I do like this, the sort of thing I like about this program. I've just opened a new project, and all I've done is move that window divider. Look at the menus. MAXQDA, when you start a brand new project, it defaults to the import menu. They know that in most cases, the first task when you start a new project is to import some data. So to save you one mouse click, they make it default to import, to help the 9 times out of 10 where that is the first thing. Now we've got lots of different import facilities here, specialized imports for specialized data. I'll come back to those. Let's just get some basics in. So if I start with the texts, click on that, and it will open up a dialog. Where do I want to find it? Another nice habit that MAXQDA has is that it remembers what I last did. I did an import earlier on today just to check how things are working in the new version, and it's remembered that I put them in a special folder on my desktop, webinar documents. So I can just select a document here. Let's just make this a little bit wider. It's a Microsoft Word document from Amadi. Select it there. It comes down to the bottom here. Click open, and it's brought it in. Amadi has been added in the document system up here, and it's also by default been opened in the document browser so that I can straight away check the quality of the import. Did I get the whole document? It's a good idea when you do import your real live data to do a quick scroll right to the bottom and make sure, did the whole document come in? There aren't any obvious glitches that have happened. Good, I've got the whole document. So one click there, select the document, okay, and it's in. There are more ways of doing this. If I click on this green plus, I get a little context menu. I could import another document, and that's what I will do. It comes to the same place. I can now select Kazumi, click open, and that one comes in and is open, ready to check. But if I come back to here and look again, at the bottom, I've got a new document group. Part of the process of importing data, I can organize it, and grouping some structure in the document system is a good way of getting a first level of organization into your data. So I'm going to create a new document group, which I'm going to call Hamburg, because some of these interviews in the example, they say were done in Hamburg. And then I can drag Kazumi and put it into the Hamburg group, and I can drag Amadi and put Amadi into the Hamburg group as well. I come back to the top. I could do that plus there. I want to point out something else. MAXQDA makes a lot of use of context menus. If I point to this document's word here, and instead of pressing the left button on my Windows mouse, I press my right button, up comes a much larger menu of all the things that I could do to what I'm pointing at, the top of the document system. And partway down, I've got new document group. And somewhere further down, I've also got import documents. And notice there are keystrokes. If you're the kind of person who's wants to use keystrokes rather than mouse for some repetitive tasks, you can memorize import documents. On a Windows keyboard, it's Control and D. If you're using a Mac, your context menu will show you what the Mac command is. So let's have another document group, and I'm going to call this one Berlin, just mirroring what they did in the example. If I right click here and do import documents, it comes to the same place. And now I don't have to do them one at a time. I can select two, Tan and Riley, and put those into the Berlin one straight off. And there we are. I've created two groups and imported 4 documents in just a couple of minutes. If you know the structure that you want, it's great to create your document groups before you put the data in, but it's not set in concrete. You can come back and reorganize. You can move these things around. If I wanted, if it made sense, I could move Riley and put him under Kazumi in the Hamburg, and so on. I can move Tan. I can rename a group, have as many more as I want. I've got an undo function here. Let's just use that to undo that last move, put Riley back into Berlin, because I want to really have to have them here in these two. Okay, so that's quickly how to import basic documents. Now let's just look at some of these other things. We've got images. So if you want to import photographs, you use this, and it'll just do a little extra test on the size of the image. You don't want to fill up your project file with very bulky data like high quality photographs or large audio files, or particularly videos, because everything that is in the document system on the whole is brought into your project file, and every time you open the project, it's brought into your memory. The largest images, audio, and video files are put in a special folder called MAXQDA externals, which are linked to your project file, and they're only brought into memory when you actually need to access one or other of those particular things. So that's quite a clever way of keeping the speed up and the volumes of data down. There are special imports for survey data, YouTube videos, films, and so on, web pages, and other kinds of structured texts. And then transcripts. Let me click on the drop down here. It's very small print. I hope you've got large enough screens to be able to see that you can import transcripts that already exist and link them, if you want, with the audio or the video that they relate to inside MAXQDA, and then you can turn MAXQDA into a fully interactive thing. The way of working often with audio and video is to have a transcript of them, code your work your codings mainly in the transcript, but then those transcripts are linked, so your coded segments link back to the original audio and video. You can select a whole bunch of coded segments that have all got some theme in common, and then listen to the audio or play the video for them one after another, and watch all the little extracts in quick succession, keeping the real richness of your audio and video at your fingertips. And then we've got focus group transcripts, which work a little bit differently. I'll go back, when I go back to the example, there is a focus group example. If you're working with focus groups and you import them using the right connections here, MAXQDA not only brings the data in and links it to the audio, but it also creates a code for each speaker and codes all the paragraphs for each speaker appropriately, so that you can in one go extract all the contributions to the focus group by any one member of the group. Very, very useful in doing focus group analysis. And then it goes one stage further. With the new introduction of artificial intelligence, AI assist is what MAXQDA calls it. We can actually now do artificial intelligence enhanced transcription inside MAXQDA. Now, I'm not going to talk at great length about that because this is an introduction and that's a pretty advanced thing. But if you are interested in that kind of thing, please look out for the webinars about that will be coming very soon, on how this new version of MAXQDA, MAXQDA 24, works with artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT, to give you facilities to transcribe your own audio automatically within MAXQDA. I've had another question. Just to make sure I understand, Heba is asking, if you import a video in a project, does it take extra space on your PC, or it just links to it from its original file? Very good question, Heba. It does in fact take extra space because it will put it into the file called MAXQDA externals, which you want to have on your hard drive. You could then put the original of that video away on a shared server if you're a university or in a commercial organization, or up in the cloud somewhere if that's appropriate. You don't need access to it again. It's only the copy that you need. But if the original video is already on your hard drive in one place, I'm afraid it would duplicate it, and so it's a good idea to find some way of backing it up to somewhere else. Good question, Heba. Thank you. Okay, let's quickly get on and do a little bit of coding to demonstrate how easy, because that's the sort of the first stage of working of analysis. It's not the only form of analysis, but I have to admit it is probably the most commonly used analysis form that people have. So there are all sorts of ways of coding, both in qualitative data analysis and obviously in MAXQDA as well. So I've got to start somewhere. I'm going to start with a very deductive way of coding. I'm going to create some codes that I know I want to use, and then I'll attach them to some data. But I hope I will also demonstrate to you how you can work much more inductively if you want to be very, very grounded and want to start with as an open mind as possible. MAXQDA has lots of tools to assist you do that as well. But let's just to get the idea of codes, the deductive approach makes it slightly easier to understand. I could go to the codes option on my menu bar, but it doesn't have very much to help me get started on this actually. But I'll just have it up there. If I come down, let's look at the context menu first of all. If I point to the word codes, I'm going to work it very much in this window down here on the left-hand side. If I do a right mouse click, here is the context menu of all the things I could do to my entire code system. This menu will get bigger once I start to create some codes, but there we have a new code button. The code symbol is a little bit like a luggage tag, because some people think of coding as tagging, so they use the tag of a luggage label as a kind of symbol for a code. Let's click on that, and here is the new code dialog. And I'm going to create one for a typical working day. This is the general topic of this project, work-life balance. So they're asked questions about their working day. It's the first question on the thing. Now, straight away, I'm faced with a choice for color, and it's almost infinite. I've got some very basic colors here. I can go to colors already used in the project. That won't give me anything more. Or I've got a sophisticated color mixer. Here is the color I'm currently using, but if I drag this around, you'll see it goes into all sorts of other colors as I move it around the screen. And you've also got more colors here, so you can almost infinite range of colors possible. But I'll just accept the default blue and click OK. The bare minimum you need to create a code is a label. A color is optional, but it can help you think very creatively. And the third option is a code memo. I'll come back to that a little bit later. Let's just create a typical working day code, and it's ready to use straight away. So let's look at how we can use a code. We probably need to select some data in the document browser and then attach the code to them. So how do you select data? Well, if you double click on a word, it highlights it. If you triple click in the middle of a paragraph, the whole paragraph is selected. This inverse white text on bright blue highlight is what MAXQDA uses to tell me that I have selected all of that data that's highlighted in that white on blue way. Click in the white space, the highlight goes away, nothing is selected. To be really clever, you probably need to click and drag with your mouse. I'm holding the button pressed, and then that way I've been able to select just a couple of sentences. It all depends, whatever this means, those two sentences, if that's what I want. Click in the white space, that goes away. If I click on the paragraph number that somebody who calls himself anonymously Memo A was asking about, that selects the paragraph as well. So if I want to select both the answer and the question, I might select it like that, include the question, and that's the data that I want to attach this code to. So the first way I'm going to do it is by looking in my code system, having selected the data, find the code I want, click on it, drag it over and drop the code on the data, and the bracket appears with its label here in the margin, and I've now attached that code. A 1 has appeared here, showing this has now got one coded segment, and 1 has appeared here in Riley, showing that Riley has 1 coded segments. If I go to Tan and find the same question, and here is Tan's answer to the typical working day. This time I'm going to select the data, and I'm going to drag from the right to the left and hover over the one I want. When I highlight the code I want, release it, and that's attached the code there, and so on. Oh, look, he talks about breakfast. Then I eat breakfast. Okay, let's create a code for breakfast within the typical working day. If I click on this plus, I can create a new code from there. So let's have food, because it won't be just breakfast, will it? And let's choose a color for that. And click OK. And food has now been created as a subcode of typical working day. And now let's select what the text is. If I don't eat breakfast at home, something on the way to the office. There we go. So that's all the text that I want to attach the breakfast code to. Now it makes a little bit more sense how I drag over, highlight the one I want, food, and that's attached the food code to it there, and so on. So in this way, I can create multiple codes and so on. Let's create another one. Let's talk about family here. So let's have a code for family. And I could use the parent code and have all the codes in a little group with the same color, or I can choose different colors. If I press the additional code, it puts family in with its orange color. And then let's have something else. They're going to do traveling, I'm sure, in a typical working day, and give that yet another different color, and click OK. And now I've got a little group with some multiple code possibilities here. So that gets us started. That's how we can create codes. We can move codes around here. I'll show you that in a moment. Let me just show you some inductive codes and so on. Let's move down a little bit. Maintaining my health. Okay, let's say, and go for a run, and then eat breakfast, because that's just me maintaining my health. Okay, something about health. So this time I'm taking an idea from within the text, and I want to create a code for that. up here we have, once we start selecting data, an extra toolbar has popped up here, and I've got some buttons on it here. If I hover over it, it says code with a new code, and there's a keystroke on my Windows keyboard. That's the Alt key plus the letter W. That's not quite so memorable, but let's click on it. Here comes the new code. I'm going to call this health. We'll give that a green color because health is often green. I could write a code memo as to why I'm using this code if I want, but I'm a bit short of time, so I'll just do that. And health has been added at the top of the code system. Oh, and here we are. He doesn't feel stressed. Okay, there's another new code. Let's create that one also the same way. Stress. Whoops, not stree. Oh, I do find it difficult to talk and type at the same time. Give that one an OK. And I've added health and stress up there as well. And it's been, in creating it that way via this button, the code is created and also attached to the data straight away. If you want to be very, very inductive and not even put labels on your codes, you can highlight some data and then use these highlighter colors. I've got 5 highlighter pens. These are the digital equivalent of the, ooh, that didn't work. Highlight again. Let's try a different one. Let's see if the red pen works. Yes, there's something wrong with the green pen. I've got a feeling, a little bug in the new version. Let's test something else. Check this. Does the blue pen work? Yes, that shaded that one blue. Do another paragraph, and does the yellow pen work? Yes. So I've got red, blue, yellow. I'm sure the purple one works. It's just the green one, unfortunately, which is having a little bit of trouble. But this is marking the text as being of interest, but I'm not attaching any label to it yet. If you're doing a very grounded approach, your first read through of your transcripts or your data, whatever form it is in, you might just do this highlight marking, just marking the bits that catch your eye in some way. Oh, I want to come back to that. That makes you want to think about it. That looks interesting, possibly useful, and so on. Note that the colors are added at the top of the code system as well. They work just like other codes, except their color is permanent. Later on, I might come back to this one. I might right click on it and I might rename it. Can I rename it here? Oh, no, it's not letting me do that. Oh, I've got to rename it over here. That's right. I can rename it over here if I want. Rename the code. There we are. So that could be hobbies. I made it now. So now it's a permanent red highlight, but I've given it another name. That's a slightly confusing thing. That wasn't a very good idea. It's more like I would want to rename stress or something rather than the highlight ones. Actually, what I really want to do is I want to come back, highlight that one, and I want to create a new code called hobbies. That's what I really wanted to do. Attach it to it. I'll give it the red color. And click OK. And now that segment has got 2 codes, red and hobbies. And then if I no longer want the highlight, I take the red, point to it, and I can delete it. And you get a little warning. Are you sure you want to delete these code assignments? Because I started it here on this bracket using the context, I'm only working on this one segment, but I'm not going to delete all the things that have been shaded red elsewhere, just this one. Click OK, and the red highlight goes, and I'm just left with my bracket, which confusingly has the same color, but I've now got a thematic code, and red down here has nothing attached to it anymore down here. Oh, getting myself a little bit carried away, but these are various inductive ways that you can work. And there is also something called open coding mode, whereby every time you select a segment, it offers you the chance to start a new code for it. If you start to type the labels, it suggests any existing codes that share those names to save you creating 3 codes that cover the same topic and so on. Lots of things you can do with codes here. Coding is not the only way of working. So let's just briefly look also at something else that MAXQDA calls memoing, because ultimately the purpose of your research, you're going to be writing. You're going to be writing some kind of a report. And so something just catching my eye here. Because I'm a first-time mother, there is something new for me every day. Now, we're talking about work-life balance, and here is somebody who is a first-time mother. She's got a child, and that may be something worth thinking about in a different way from just crude coding. So by highlighting that sentence, I can now write my ideas about it. Do a right click to get the context menu. This is the menu of all the things that could be done to a selected segment here in the document browser, and I can insert a memo for that selection. And it comes up here with a free text screen. It has a title there. I'm just going to accept the title memo 1. I could give a date, record today's date and time, just to mark when I actually did this within the memo. Tan is a first-time mother. She has 1 child. Not very exciting. I've got all these symbols to mark it. Let's just give it a green label and close it. And there we are. We've got it twice on the screen. We've got a little symbol here, which will always be there, always be visible in this margin between the code bracket margin and the paragraph number margin here. There's always going to be a symbol. Whenever I hover over that, it will display in the pop-up what I've just put in, the date and time, and the little memo that I typed. Tan is a first-time mother. She has 1 child. But also I can display memos over here on the right in this margin. I can choose whether to have that sidebar open or not, depending on how much use I've made of memos. You can have as many memos as you like in each document. Come down here. Let's just quickly make something else. And I'm just going to type some nonsense and give that a different color just to illustrate those features and so on. And there we are. And I can jump between my memos with these up and down arrows and so on. And it highlights the text beside the memo that I'm looking at here to show what I've attached that idea to. As many as you like in there. You can also have memos over here in your document system. So if I point to Tan over here and do a right click, I've got 1 memo for each document that I can put over here. And in this one, I could copy in my notes made just after the interview was recorded. For example, if you're doing your own interviews, you should be told that you should have a new notepad with you, and you should make notes of important things. Were you alone? Were you interrupted? Was your respondent relaxed or nervous? What were the particular circumstances and so on? Anything that might affect your understanding of the data. Those notes, when you get back with your transcripts of your interviews, paste them in here. I'm going to give it an exclamation mark just to emphasize it, because they're always available then. Once you put them in there, just by hovering your mouse pointer at any stage over that, you can read those notes. You might be in the middle of coding and you come across a discontinuity in the day. Suddenly, the subject changes abruptly in the middle of an answer. Well, what's going on there? Look back at your notes. Ah, yes, of course. This was the interview where Tan's mother came into the room while she was talking, and she suddenly changed the subject. Obviously, what she was just about to tell me was something that her mother doesn't know. Something like that. So that's where those notes can be really useful for helping in your analysis stage. And also, do you remember when we were starting new codes? I can start a new code from here. We had the possibility of a code memo in that way. Even with existing codes, I could take this code stress that I created, right click on it, and I've got the possibility for opening its memo here. And here we are. Up will come the dialog for the code stress. Don't change its name because it's the name of the code. And here I'm going to type again because this is a good place to record any rules. Oh, I've gone capitals, bother. And a definition for this code. Apologies for my slow typing. There we go. And we'll give that one an exclamation mark as well and close that. Yes, whether you the idea of rules and definitions for your codes, it's just a matter of timing. If you're doing a team project where you've got very specific objectives and you know the main themes and so on. Within the team, you're going to create many of your codes before you even start your analysis. And it's a good idea for that all of those codes should have rules and definitions agreed by the team ahead of work, so that you all know exactly which code should be used when. Put those into the code memos, and they're always available to you just by pointing at them with your mouse. Like you can find those notes, you can find the rule and definition for the stress code by pointing at that part of the screen. If, on the other hand, you're doing a grounded theory project and you're working very much from the inductive approach, you'll work the other way around. Your codes will be very, very tentative, and at a much later stage in the project, you'll need to come back and work through your codes one after another, looking at all the segments that share one code and working out what does that mean? What is the central theme as defined as precisely as you possibly can that all of these segments share? And then when you do that, you might find there's one or two that don't really fit with all the others, and so you might remove the coding from them. Remember how I did that earlier on? I could remove that blue coding by point to just one segment, point to it, and delete the code. And yes, I am sure I want to do that. Click OK, and it's gone. I've taken the coding away. That's how you can undo a code that you now change your mind. It's no longer appropriate to attach it to that particular thing, and so on. Okay, I think I need to go back into the main example again. So I'm going to reopen the main project. Hopefully now you've got a slightly better idea of what I'm showing you on the screen, because we've got 2,814 coded segments in this example project. That's an awful lot of coding work that has been done. You can see multiples, 40s and 50s of codes segments per document, and some of these codes, flexibility has got 45 coded segments attached. So now let's look again at how we retrieve that data, which is the first task of getting back what we've put in. And for this, there's one concept that you do need to get your heads around with MAXQDA, and that is the word activation. In the document system, if I hover over this symbol on the document system toolbar, I get some words: activate documents by variables, activate documents by color, activate documents at random. It says by random, but a random sample of my documents, or activate focus group speakers by variables. So those are some systematic ways that you can choose to bring into play subsets of your data. But at the moment, if I just point to the document symbol for ANA and do a left click on that little symbol there, the document symbol, notice ANA's line goes blue. A little blue dot appears at the side here to the left, and that has been activated. Now, I'm looking around. It's not telling me actually at the moment how many documents I have activated. We'll come to that in a moment. If I click just to the left in the little empty circle for Amadi, that activates Amadi. If I click on the row for Tatiana, the highlight comes there, but Tatiana is not activated. Now this faint purple shading is showing that Anna and Amadi have been activated, but Tatiana hasn't. To activate a document, I've got to do a left click either on the document symbol or on the little circle to the left. And I've now got 3 of them. If I want to cancel the activations, one click up here resets them. They all go back to clear. More often, you'll probably want to activate a whole group. If I click on the Hamburg folder, all of the 5 documents in the Hamburg group are activated in one go. So that's the first part of the idea. In the code system, it works very much the same way. If I click on a code tag, here we are. Now it's coming up showing I've got 1 activated code. The code system is working a little bit different from the document system. This is a new feature I've got to get my head around. Click just in the little disc to the left of work life, and that has activated that. Click on the label for childcare, nothing has changed. Reset by clicking there, and they all go away. Activate the whole group by clicking on the group there, and 8 codes are activated all in one go. Okay, now there is one slight difference between codes and documents. A document group is just a holder, placeholder for all the documents within the group. But a code can be both a a placeholder for a group of codes, but it can also be a thematic code in its own right. I don't think we've got any examples of that in this example project at the moment, but that can just catch you out. If I reset this, if I right-click to get the context menu, you've got a choice between activate including subcodes, which is the normal one, and just activate on its own, and that's activated work-life balance without activating its subcodes if that had been used as a thematic code in its own right, which it hasn't. It's only got 0 there. Just a little thing for that. Now let's put those ideas together. Activate the 5 documents in the Hamburg group and activate, say, the education code and the friends and family code. And just come down here. I've got 2 codes there, 5 documents there. And now look at my retrieved segments window over here on the right. Let me just move that boundary up a little bit. There we go. And it's telling me I've got 22 coded segments, which come from 5 documents. That's the 5 documents I've got activated there. And 1 document group, that's the Hamburg group. And now we start, and it shows the code underneath each of the segments. So here's the first segment, which underneath it shows it's from document ANA in paragraph 7, and it's coded to work-life balance, subcode friends and family. The 0 after that is just a weighting, which I'm not going to go into, but well, okay, this one, the next one, also from ANA paragraph 15, work-life balance, friends and family, and this has been weighted with a value of 50 in a weighting system, which is a little bit of an advanced concept, so I'm not going to go into that any further. So we work down all of the coded segments of ANA. A bit further down we get to ANA, and we've got data coded to education, and then eventually we move on to the next person, Kazumi, and the first code for Kazumi is friends and family, and then we have a Kazumi education, and then we move on to Amadi. If you're not happy with the way that's going, in the settings, you can choose to change the order by which you're displaying all those coded segments in different orders there. I won't change that, but you've always got control of almost everything conceivable that you might want. A very important thing, if I click on a coding bracket down here in the retrieve segments, all 4 panels of the screen will synchronize around this coded segment. The code system will go to the code, education. The document system will go to the document, Kazumi, and the document browser will display the same coded segment highlighted up there. I'm clicking on that bracket now, and the synchronization has happened. We get it highlighted here in the white on blue inverse. The education code is highlighted there, as I forecast it would be. Kazumi is highlighted there, as I forecast. And up here, the segment from paragraph 27 is highlighted up here, shaded in the color of the code that I selected, which is the education code. So now people sometimes say, whoa, what on earth is all that about? Well, it's very important that down here, I can make cross-case comparisons. I can see how different people have talked about education in the context of their job and their work-life balance. But up here, for any one of those segments, I can see the context. What question was Kazumi answering when Kazumi made this comment about, yes, my employer does offer training? And was there anything else that Kazumi was talking about just before making this comment? Context can be very, very important in qualitative analysis. So I just offer you that little bit there. I'm just going to reset these and activate all the work-life balance codes. I just want to quickly show you one more exciting visual tool before I go back to my more PowerPoint kind of presentation and finish off. So I'm going to open up from the visual tools the code matrix browser, which is a little table with a column for each of the documents, and I selected those columns as the ones that were activated over here. So by activating different documents over here, I can select the columns for this table. And the rows are the codes that were also activated when I started. And then I've got lots of things that I can do to change this table, the display of this table in different ways. I can show If you don't like all the numbers, after all, that's why you went into qualitative analysis, wasn't it? You're not a statistician. All those numbers just make your brain hurt. Okay, you can have little symbols, circles or squares, where the larger the symbol, the bigger the number that's behind it, and those symbols can be calculated either by the row. We should read across the row here. So the biggest one is in Tatiana. So Tatiana has talked about friends and family more than anyone else, and Kazumi and Tatiana have both talked about childcare. The others haven't mentioned it. Oh, David has a little bit, and so on. So I can look at, or I can read down the column, and I can look at Tatiana, and friends and family is more important than any of the other ones for her, whereas for Kazumi, childcare is just as important as the typical workday code, and so on. Okay, this is very flexible. If I come down and activate more codes and do the reset, oh no, I didn't need to, hang on, cancel that. They're here. I can add more in even after I've started it, although if I want to add in more documents, I do have to recalculate, redisplay, and then more documents can come in and so on. But then once I've got them there, there may be ones I don't want. Perhaps I don't want Matteo. If I deactivate Matteo, Matteo is removed. And if I deactivate the flexibility code, the flexibility code goes off the bottom. So it's easy to remove things that you don't want, to tailor this chart before you choose to export it in a variety of ways to put it in your main publication. Let me take the Berlin ones out again and recalculate. Okay, turn it back to numbers. And if I go to this button here, I can go to all the source texts. I've now got the same table. I've got the same codes down the side here as were in that table, and I've got the documents across the top, and with a slider at the bottom, I can scroll to the right to get across the last one, David, or come back. If I select a code like friends and family, I get all the segments that are coded to this code, friends and family, are being displayed in this, so I can actually make direct comparisons side by people. These columns are independently scrollable. If there's more segments than can be displayed within the one page, or Tatiana, I can scroll down and see all the different segments in where Tatiana has talked about friends and family quite a lot. I think that's absolutely fantastic for giving you ways of looking at that data that's even more powerful than the retrieve segments window. I'm going to close that one, which brings you back to this table. It was open all along, and I can close that. Right, let me now call back up my display and just make a few concluding remarks. You can still ask me questions, and I'll take those in a moment. I can see Heber's asked me another question. So I just showed you the code relations browser. You've got all sorts of other beautiful, fantastic, exciting kinds of diagram, and these are just a selection of 6 of the many ways you can visualize your data. Within this one webinar, I can't do all of these things. There wasn't time to go into all of this. I was just doing simple retrievals by simple activations of data and codes to view where those codes intersect in the columns. But with complex retrieval, you can look for places where 2 codes occur one after the other, or one overlapping with another, or only one code and not another particular one in the same document or in the same section or something. You can do all kinds of complex queries with your coded data after you've done it. You can also search for keywords, and you can look at trends of where words are occurring in your data. Advanced things there. I have mentioned AI Assist. I mentioned it in the context of transcribing, but you can also use AI Assist to summarize your data. And again, if that excites you and interests you, please search out the information about that, and there will be webinars on doing that. All sorts of things that you can do with AI as an assistant. But if you're beginners, a word of warning: don't try and run before you can walk. Don't jump into using a thing as powerful as AI Assist before you're sure that you understand what you're really doing, because you've done it yourself in a small way, at least at first. If you go straight into AI Assist, there's a huge danger that you might allow the artificial intelligence to take you off in a direction you didn't realize you're going and mislead you possibly. So you need to have a good grasp of your own data, and then a good grasp of your analysis method and so on. Then you can use AI Assist intelligently yourself, and then you'll have better things. Export and publish. So MAXQDA also, lots of the things you use can be exported in a variety of ways. Again, I'm not a great fan of asking it to write your final report for you, but you can export all of your coded segments and things in useful ways, and then they're very easily usable in your final report. Much more important to mention now, the community, the MAXQDA community. There's a research network. There are user forums. Everybody who uses MAXQDA is a nice person, it seems to me, and they like to help each other. So do join the research network. You don't have to wait till you're a professor. You don't have to wait till you've got your PhD. As soon as you've got a MAXQDA license and you're working on some real live data, you're entitled to join the research community. There may be other people who speak your language, live in your part of the world. They may be interested in different topics, but they'd love to help you get started with MAXQDA on your topic. There may be other people living in other countries who are interested in the same topic as you, and they can be just as helpful in other ways. There's a mention of the MAXQDA annual user conference, and here is a slide for it. Next, end of February, beginning of March next year, 28th of February to the 1st of March, 2024, we will be gathering in Berlin for the first face-to-face conference since the COVID pandemic blew us apart in 2020. That was when the last one was, just before all the lockdowns happened in March 2020. We're all looking forward to getting back face to face because we've been meeting virtually in the Max Days conference in 21, 22, and 23. We're very excited to face to face. So look up on the website, maxqda.com for conference, and see if there's something that might interest you in that. There are lots of free resources coming with MAXQDA. There's its own publications website called MAXQDA Press, where there are loads of free tutorials, textbooks, articles, literature, manuals, all sorts of things. There's a whole library of webinars, previously recorded webinars that you can watch on the YouTube channel for MAXQDA and so on. You don't need to struggle. There's lots and lots of free resources to help you get going, get you excited, and so on. Other free things. If you're doing a PhD and your supervisor doesn't know about MAXQDA, perhaps they still use that horrendous program called NVivo, well, you tell your supervisor you're going to use MAXQDA because it's so much more powerful, so much easier to use. You're going to do a much better research with it. If they like to download the free MAXQDA reader at a later stage, you can send them your project, a copy of your whole project. They can open it in their reader. They can run queries. They can export things. What they can't do with Reader is import data, create and apply codes, write memos. But that's your job, isn't it? You're the one doing the research. So this has been designed for supervisors in particular who are not MAXQDA users. There are two, in the new MAXQDA 24, there are two versions of the program, MAXQDA and MAXQDA Analytics Pro. The only difference between them is that Analytics Pro has an extra module for statistical data called Stats. If you've seen the earlier versions, there used to be a third one which didn't have MAXDictio. MAXDictio is now standard for detailed text analysis, quantitative text analysis. It's standard in the basic one, MAXQDA. So that's great. Now everybody gets MAXDictio anyway. So the only difference is whether you want to do statistics still within MAXQDA. And a single license allows you to have it on a work computer and a home computer and things. And you can choose whether to buy outright one payment and it's yours for as long as you want to use it, or that's the perpetual, sorry, or buy by subscription. You pay a much smaller payment and you pay each year. And if there are new versions, the subscribers automatically get all the new versions. The perpetual people will be stuck with the version that they bought. They'll get updates up to a certain point, but those who've got a perpetual and 2020 license will not be getting 2024. It's your choice. If you're working in an organization, you might want to look at network licenses. And if you're a PhD student or even a master's degree student, please look for the discounts that are available for student licenses. Huge discounts, because they know that if you're doing a PhD, you don't have a huge income, you don't have a lot of money to spend on software, so you can have a fully functioning MAXQDA license. The only restriction on the student license is they only work for 2 years. So be canny. Don't buy your student license at a discount until you've collected quite a bit of your data and you really are ready to start your analysis. For educational institutions, there are other things if you're running courses and so on. I'll skip on that. AI assist. You have a limited amount of AI is free for everybody. You can do a limited amount of work each day, perhaps up to about 10 pages of text per day. If you're going to do an awful lot of AI, then you might need to buy the premium, which means you pay by the month, $10 to $20 per month. Not quite sure where that price range comes in, but it's an extra subscription service. And I think if you want transcription with AI, you can try it for free, 1 hour of data, and then you would purchase additional hours as you need them via the MAXQDA shop. And there is a free version, this is my last slide, called MAXQDA trial version, completely free, fully functioning. You can try out any of the things that you're not sure. You want to be sure that it can do it before you buy the program. The thing about the trial version is it only works for 2 weeks, 14 days, 1 fortnight, depending. It's all the same thing, 14 days. It comes with the trial example data like the one I've been using. You can use your own data if you want within the trial. And if you start with your data and you create a little project and you do some importing and coding, when you get your proper license, you can carry on with that same trial version. You won't have to start all over again. The data that you used on your free trial will continue to work when you get a full license.